How's it going, YouTube? Raw Life back with some more Lufenia runs. This time we are going to do a triple header of the new Umbral Equinox Lufenia events. We're going to start off with the Twilight Lufenia versus the Sergeant Imps, the Sephiroth Imps, as some of us call them. We have faced these guys before, and this time, luckily, they are not nearly as dangerous or terrifying. Actually, a little bit cathartic being able to smash these guys down. We're going to bring Aerith, Golbez, and Nine to this one. Everybody does their own, they carry their own weight in this fight, which I really like about this team comp. The Imps are not immune, but they resist magic. So off the rip, Golbez and Aerith seem like weird choices, but Golbez imperils his own element, Dark, so he'll hit hard anyway, as long as I don't let that fall off. And Aerith is actually there to keep her debuff, not seal evil, but the planet's admonition on one or the other, because these guys like to constantly buff themselves, buff each other with big, ugly buffs, defensive and attacking buffs. So we're trying with this quad to keep Nine's shields up to protect everybody, keep Aerith's debuff up on whichever one is targeting the other. We do not make that work every time, but as you can see right now, A is targeting B and B is targeting Aerith. So in that situation, we want to try to keep, you see Golbez hitting like a freight train. In this situation, you really want the debuff on B so they don't get the buff that they just got anyway because I didn't have my debuff on. But that's the whole goal of the fight for this team comp. Aerith is preventing them from buffing. Golbez is hitting like a tank, and Nine is actually a tank. So that's how we are rolling with this one. I did do a no friends on any of these three, no new friends runs, just for something different. The TCC challenges lately have banned all BT phases, so I wanted to bring some BT phases and have a little fun. I don't know if there will be some TCC challenges for this or not, but Yuna comes out tonight, so her BTLD drops in global, so probably going to be moving on from these fights after this upload. Anyway, we're jumping into Golbez's burst here. These guys really never were any danger to me, thanks to Nine's shields, Nine's HP damage mitigation, all that. He took, it's a nice chunky little burst effect. These guys do some weird stuff. Their orb, I haven't even mentioned the orb yet. The orb for these guys was just to simply let them act. And it goes away, it comes back at 49%, I believe. But for these guys to keep the orb up, you just have to let them move. If you try to delay them for eternity, they will burst that orb and kill you. So you can't really do delay teams, can't do delete teams unless you're very, very careful. I am saving some of my serious debuffs for after the cleanse at 50%. As you see, they're both at 51%, now 50. And I'm saving, I believe, Kurasame for Aerith, Gabranth, LD Call for Golbez, and Jack for 9. So there you go. They cleanse and B put up that red aura at 49%. That aura makes them take 1s for brave damage, and to get it to go away, you have to let them act. So we're just going to get back into our debuffs. Placement, put on Aerith's debuff on the wrong one, by the way, if you noticed that. But luckily, actually no, not luckily, they did give me with a shield buff. Put on a couple debuffs, and we saved this EX going under 30 or under 50% with Golbez because these guys, like I said earlier, they do resist magic. So and the only thing to put on his magic imperil or his Dark Imperil, excuse me, would be his EX or his LD. So save that EX, threw that on there, and now these guys are debuffed well enough that I think we can just burn them down. We're at 35 turn. I think the turn count for all 3 of these fights is 70. Forgot to throw on Gabran's debuffs, but whatever. We are hitting pretty close to cap brave damage and really well on the HP damage as well. So we're just at this point burning them down to 0. I don't think they do anything else weird. You just have to keep giving them turns. Saved a couple LDs for everyone. Well, 9's LDs is an instant turn, no damage. So I didn't really need those for the summon phase. But anyway, this fight it can be tricky if you let them debuff, if you let them buff each other, if you let them get you in a dangerous position where one of them's going to use that big calamity bomb. This team just so happened to work perfectly for what I needed to do, and it was no hassle for me really. But it can be tough if you don't have the roster, or if you're bringing, some units that don't necessarily match what they want you to bring here. Specifically, you can't really bring turn stealers, and you can't really bring delayers or a lot of delay. But they're down to 12% now. We're at the finish line. There's a Calamity Bomber from B. That's one of their big moves. The AoE HP attack, but 9, as you saw, he mitigate all the incoming HP damage, and that included Calamity Bomber. So I really enjoyed this fight. This is probably my favorite of the 3 fights to run. I love Golbez. I love 9. They are both blue. Always blue favorites. Aerith also, I love dusting her off and using her in a fight that on the surface, when you're first looking at it, may not seem built for her, but then because of the magic resist, but then you look a little deeper and you realize it's actually perfect for her. Keep them from buffing each other. If I say debuff instead of buff one more time in this video, I'm going to smash my phone into the wall. Buffing themselves. She keeps them from buffing themselves. And this guy really doesn't want to go out with a fight. He hit me with a little HP damage there, but I know that, or I check to make sure, I know that I'm still good on the HP and finish him off with Golbez. So that is our first of 3 Umbral Equinox fights. Golbez, 9, and Aerith. That's the squad. Worked out really well. I enjoyed it. And then coming up next, we will have 2 more Lufenias. I love these kind of events. They lock out the team that you used last, or the other 2 teams you used, so it's kind of, it's fun to have the restrictions placed on you by the game instead of only doing TCC challenges and stuff for a challenge. It's kind of nice when you have a little bit of a challenge from the game that makes you kind of think about your team comp a little bit more. This one, however, was just an absolute bloodbath. These are the bugs you probably remember from Arcella's Lost Chapter. Probably remember bringing Arcella or Balthier and these guys being real difficult because the orb was dispelling one of their buffs. These guys are also got a lot easier, and as you see here, I brought Garland, Ishtola, and Gabranth, and I no-turned them. The orb is just keeping their brave low. Look at Cypher just hitting like a... I'm really enjoying Cypher, by the way. But anyway, the orb is keeping their brave below 5,000 or 8,000 or something at the end of a turn. Really doesn't matter as long as you're pushing them back. Bursted early in this one once I got all my debuffs up, and just went to town for the rest of the fight. It was really fun. It was a little easy, of course. I think most people consider this the easiest one. They don't cleanse if you don't let them get a turn. I messed up that burst rotation horribly. But whatever. We're just delaying the hell out of them. It'll be fine. There'll be a couple misplays. The countdown appears, or the orb appears at 79%. Get them both down to 79 here within this burst phase. And I just use the delay all throughout my team. Even Ishtola has delay on her skill 1 stone. And the rest of the fight, she's spamming her EX to battery everybody, heal everybody. Flawless Misery, her Brave Plus that transforms every 3 actions or so, and Medica, which is instant turn, free turn, battery as well. So she's there just battering everybody, giving a little bit of a delay boost as well when it's needed. And then Cypher, Garland, they're just here to do the dirty work. As you see, Cypher just carving them up. Wanted to shout out Cypher from this team and 9 from the first team. And then you also see in my third team, I brought Queen. There are some units that don't get a lot of, hype when they're first releasing, and everybody's talking about certain units and they kind of fall in between the cracks. I think Cypher, 9, and Queen, all 3 of them have been units that didn't come around with a lot of fanfare and hype, but they have really, really been fun to play, fun to use, and carried their weight well. I've really enjoyed it. And Cypher has some good debuffs that didn't really matter here because they weren't getting turns. I was really just using him for his delays, but he does have some really fun debuffs. His EX debuff that keeps them from gaining Brave for 1 turn, stuff like that. It's real fun. And back to the fight at hand, though, you see they do drop they automatically apply a debuff every certain threshold, which is like a HP sap. With this team, it's really nothing to worry about. It goes away. I'm getting all the turns anyway, so after like 3 turns each, it's gone. And Ishtola is just naturally chip healing that, or burst healing it really throughout the rest of the fight. So no danger here. I don't really know how the mechanics work in this fight. If you actually try to play it legit, I know some people played maybe counters, or maybe that was the M's. But anyway, the main goal here, if you're just trying to beat it, trying to stomp through it, is don't give them any turns. They are not dangerous, obviously, and they are fairly easy to just push all the way to oblivion. As you can see, for a lot of this fight, they have been completely banished to the Shadow Realm, and can't even see which one I should delay because they're both delayed so far back they're not even showing up. When I turned 38, this was another fight that we weren't really too worried about turn count, just the way the team was set up. The fact I brought my burst. I did no friend on this one as well. All 3 of these runs wanted to try a theme, and the theme was no friend, but absolutely bursting. At least bring 1 burst character each team. And it was a lot of fun, building around the burst phases, building around the teams that I brought, and not relying on a friend unit. It was pretty fun. We do a lot of TCC challenges. The TCC challenges aren't doing any burst phases, like I said, so it's fun to kind of bring up bursts and have some fun with them. There's no TCC challenges for these yet, but we'll go back probably. And actually for these 3 we're probably moving on, but Una, like I said, will be out. The Lufenia story chapter Lufenia probably be the next TCC challenge that we try, but that's neither here nor there. Looks like we are just about done with these guys.
orb is maxed out. Excuse me, not maxed out, but it's close. Not gonna be really bothering us. We're at turn 44. It's another 70 turn fight. So it looks like we're gonna no turn these guys. This was the most simple team, or the most simple strategy I ran with of these 3 fights. Just no turning them. I do need to point out that if you kill one of these guys and not the other, if you don't kill them simultaneously, they will, the one that survives will heal and I think cleanse and just make it a lot harder. It heals 10% health, I think, and make it a lot harder for you to finish them off. So if possible, and as you can see, as we get closer down here, they're both at 4%. We're trying to hit them with, trying to bring them down at about the same rate. I skipped Garland's EX because I was afraid it might kill the one on the right. But now we got 2%, 1%, hit the other one with stone. Checked that this will be full damage to both. They're both still at 1%. So we hit them with an Afflatus Misery and we're out of there. I really enjoyed this team. This fight was fun. I don't mind the no turn fights. I know a lot of people want to interact with the boss, but I like to just push them into the Shadow Realm and not have to deal with them at all. So that's the team right there, artifacts and everything. And we still have one left, probably the most challenging of all, the Noctis Lufenia. For this one, we brought Aranea, Cod, Burst, and Queen. And this one was a little tough. I did make huge mistakes. You'll probably be able to catch them out, particularly with Cloud of Darkness. I do not use Cloud of Darkness that much. And, well, that kind of shows throughout this fight. Cloud of Darkness kind of revolves around getting breaks and building up stacks of darkness. The overhead buff she has there, at 5 stacks, her skill 2 transforms into an upgraded skill 2, and she can just smash big damage and delays. But she worked well here, even with my limited grasp of how to best use her. She still worked. This fight is against the Agrius Lost Chapter bosses that gave me absolute nightmares back in the EX era. This was a horrible fight back then if you didn't have Agrius, but luckily I think all of the Equinox events were kind of giving us old bosses that bothered us so that we could beat them up this time. The orb on these guys appears at 80, goes away at 50, and it goes up when you it ticks when you break them. So instant breaks work. Cod and Aranea were my big breakers to deal with the orb. The orb also comes back after 50% if you allow them to use their move, globulated. Ooh, it's a tongue twister. Globulated. They have a big move you don't want them to use. Globated crush. Ooh. They do that once they're in the air. These guys will start levitating. Kind of the idea in the second half of the fight is to not let them move again, whichever one is in the air, so they don't get their orb back. But we'll see how that went with me here shortly. And earlier, I did mention 9, Cypher, and Queen as my MVPs, or my underrated unsung heroes I've been using a lot. And Queen holds her own here. Her auras are just bonkers still. And she does okay damage. She goes into her EX, her Berserker state with her EX, and that's fun. But she basically holds the team together. I love using Queen. I love using 9. I love using Cypher. Underrated units. Hope you didn't skip them. because the hype train told you to. Here's Cloud of Darkness bursting out one of her upgraded skill 2s there. You can see good damage. She does real good damage the whole fight. Aranea is really my go-to breaker to deal with the orb. At this point, we're just trying to get down to 50% because they cleanse at 50% and the orb goes away. So I want to kind of get them down to 50% and throw on some debuffs and then go into burst phase with Cloud of Darkness. She's got a really strong burst phase and a burst effect. She does follow-ups for a certain number of turns on everybody's actions in the party, and really really helps to chip damage throughout her burst phase. I really enjoyed using her here. If you can't tell, as I already mentioned, I'm not great at using her, but I am learning. I think I'm going to probably use her a little bit more moving forward. RVK, shout out RVK, popping up inside my video. Should you pull Yuna? Was recommended. Absolutely, you should pull Yuna, but that's neither here nor there. Check out RVK, really good should you pulls on YouTube. We're getting down to 67% on both, and A just levitated, which is not good. That means he's about to use that glow-baited crush. I think I pronounced it right that time. That AoE attack they do can be kind of dangerous, but Queen has last stand for the party, and she's also unkillable in her berserk state. So she kind of provides the healing and the protection from these guys defensively, while enabling COD and Aranea to just do big boy damage, big girl damage, big they damage. They are a couple of heavy hitters in this team. They're at 57%. Want to get them below 50 before I throw on my debuffs. And then kind of just go to town with burst, summon, and there it is. Glow-baited crush. Glow-baited crush was used. We tanked that, no problem. And B here is made me a little nervous. Orb was getting low, but as you see, break is a pretty simple orb, or an orb conditional to meet. At 49%, you see B has begun to levitate. A follows suit, and they clear all their debuffs and buff themselves. So we'll use the rest of Queen's free turns, kind of chip damage them down. A had to get down below 49%, so the orb goes away. And now I'm ready to throw on some debuffs. Gabranth is up first, uses base call. We have Gabranth, Ferris, and Jack calls. We want to get rid of their buffs as well. Didn't realize that I already used Ferris's base call, which has the dispel. So we left one buff on each of these guys, but then RNA got rid of one of them on A. So no big deal. B is going to gain his orb back just like A did if we let him move. So gonna go ahead and zero form him, or did not break because I guess because he's got that buff still up. But Aranea will handle that. Actually, we go ahead and summon here. I wanted to get all my buffs on, or my debuffs on, before bursting with Cloud of Darkness. Also, her BT phase cycle is a little different depending on how many stacks you have going into it. So I kind of wanted some stacks going into the BT phase, but as you'll see from this point on, it's kind of a comedy of errors. I did not feel like re-recording the whole fight, so I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Mistakes were made. Jack call is actually on Queen, and Queen cannot use a call while she's in her berserker state. So we go ahead and burst anyway. Kod's hitting pretty fine, but on top of not getting my debuffs all on, I then go ahead and completely fuck up her burst phase. But hey, you know, we're doing this triple header. I recorded them back to back to back too, so we're so close to the end here, and I don't foresee having any problems, so it's not worth a reset. Just it's nice to record your runs and check out the mistakes you made so that you can kind of look back and say, oh, next time I'm not going to do that. Trying to get Queen out of her berserker state so we can throw in this debuff finally. And there it goes with like 20% and 19% left on the bosses. Just in time. Looks like Ronaldo scored some goals in soccer. So that's good. Thank you, ESPN, for letting me know. At this point, Kod is bursting. Our burst effect is up, so she's following up everybody's hits with her own damage. This is another case where you don't want to kill one of the bosses and leave the other one alive, because the other one will make it harder to kill it. I think it levitates and cleanses and all sorts of stuff. So we want to kill them both at the same time. 9% and 7%. Using up the rest of those LDs that we have left over to try and finish this off as soon as possible. As you see, has his orb. We never should let him get his orb back. So that goes even further into the comedy of errors. But hey, I said this before and I'll say it again. All's well that ends well. And we made it work. Obviously, turn count could be a lot better if the play was better. See, he 1% cleansed, buffed himself, and started levitating. It made it real hard to kill him. As you see, it's really not hitting for crap. We're hitting for peanuts, but Queen handles it with an HP attack to finish it off, and we are done with all of the Umbral Equinox Lufenias. That was a triple header. Thank you for sticking with me if you made it this far. I doubt you did, but there's the team. Thanks for checking me out. Don't forget the live stream on Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. I'll put a link in the description, and don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. See you next time.